Hi there, everyone. I figured I'd do another update on the tank. It's been almost over a month now since the last update, and with macroalgae, it grows quite fast. Um, so there's a couple things I want to go over. Some pallies here. I moved them to this little corner where this brittle star hangs out in that little cave there. I got these guys. I do not know what they are still. Still growing those out. Organ, you know, some days it's fully open, some days it's not. But generally it's doing okay. The Kenya tree right here, it just kept falling over where it was at, and I think it's gonna do better right here. And then I also trimmed some of this gracilaria right here, this hay. There's a large chunk that was like hanging off of it, and it was growing quite a bit of hair algae and just collecting detritus. So I trimmed that bit off, and now I like how it's growing now. It's filling in the space a lot better, and it seems to be already putting out new growth. Moving down to the turtle grass, there's quite a bit going on in this area. So first, there's that old shoot, but there's also another new shoot behind it coming up. That old shoot that I showed you guys probably a month ago is now the same size as the other one. But as you will see next to it, that little, let me zoom up on it. That little brush right there, that's a mermaid's fan. There's a original one on it, and it just started dying off, collecting cyanobacteria, so I got it out of there. And now, ever since I've done that, there's little babies popping up all over the place. There's one right there. And then I think there's one around here somewhere. It might have gotten buried by the Watchman goby. But yeah, they're growing pretty good. Elegance, very large as usual. Yeah, I also got a chalk bass. He was in the 40, but I moved him in here for now. You know, it's kind of tiny for him. He seems to like it a lot though. Mexican fern, you know, doing exactly what I wanted to do. Taking over this rock, just growing a big bush in general. Here's the blastos. They're kind of like the forgotten child in this tank. There's a lot of aptasia growing here. There are some Bergia nudibranchs that I added in here. So hopefully eventually they get over here and take care of them. But for now, yeah, this blasto is just getting stung, and it's growing a lot of hair algae. I honestly might remove it. I don't know, but it's fine for now, I guess. There's my Orbic, still doing real well. So the Duncans, you know, growing, putting out new heads. Can't really complain. They added good space to this area. They're just kind of on a rack right now. So I imagine they'll take over this whole space, and when that time comes, I'll have to take them out of here. This is some yellow scroll. As I do live in Florida, so it grows all over the place, all over rocks and stuff. So I collected some, and it's growing really nicely in here. Some people have issues with this particular macroalgae. For me, it hasn't really posed any problems. You can even see the old growth from when I initially added it in. And then I just today glued this piece over here. So it's quite a large macroalgae though. So Bullhypnia, you know, it's growing a lot. So I cut some up. I put a little piece of it right there, a little piece right here, and that's the mother original piece. My goal is that it just takes over this whole rock, and it's just all Bullhypnia. Now this is a hidden cup coral. This thing is growing like crazy in here. I got 2 new heads at the bottom. Those were not on this coral when I first got it. that head was new, that head is new, the head right there coming out is new. And then there's even more heads buttoning out under the zoas. I think, so the thing is with this, I've noticed this coral is pretty unique. It's not a NPS, but I wouldn't say it's completely photosynthetic either. I think it uses a little bit of both. Because whenever I put just a little bit of reef snow like it is right now, it has its tentacles out, waiting for food or whatever it can get. Like, so it's definitely a very hungry coral, but at the same time, it does seem to use photosynthesis. But then again, we got this one that's completely, almost completely blacked out, and that one is completely blacked out, and you know, it's doing just fine. So part of me says it can handle photosynthesis, but at the same time, it can also handle, you know, being an NPS. It's kind of weird. Goblin fire zoas, they're doing okay. There was an aptasia actually growing in here, but looks like the Bergias took care of that, so that's cool. If you look from the top, you could probably see a better growth pattern from it. There we go. I know the water's rippling. This is my dog, Smokey. Hi, Smoke. Yes, this growth is doing pretty good. You can see it encroaching onto this part right here, but that's not gonna really work out for it because the hey is right there. So the only place where it's gonna have to grow, which is it's already starting to do, is on this hypnia rock. So my plan is once the hypnia gets too close, which it already is starting to, I just trim that back, you know, so it doesn't interfere with it. Got the hey. That's a thing a lot of people don't consider with a lot of macroalgae tanks. If you want them growing on your corals, for example, you're gonna have to do a lot of trimming. And while we're here is the digitata. So the digi, it's going pretty good in here, honestly. I can't complain too much with it. Sorry for the siren. This tank is outside, so yeah, it's growing pretty good. I think it's growing up a little bit more since the last time you've seen it. There's these little nubs coming out on it. This I added in here until the new tank is stable enough to handle it is this red Monty cap. So this thing, it's not really even designed for this tank, to be honest with me. To be honest with you, it's not really designed for this tank. These things just get too big, man. This thing could take over this whole tank if it really wanted to. So the goal is, I'll keep maybe like a little piece of it, but generally I'm gonna take this thing out of here once I know that tank inside is ready. Blushing star coral, it came on a piece of live rock. It was a pretty big piece. It was actually bigger than this, but I actually flipped it upside down. It's doing okay. I don't notice any really too much growth from it, but you know, it's doing all right. Macroalgae growing in. I think these things were on the live rock when I first got it as well. They're these little like snake looking macroalgae. So they're growing back, so I'm happy about that. This is Caulerpa rectiflora, I believe, something like that. Anyways, I really like how this thing has filled in this whole space. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. And it had a water change. A lot of it died off, but it already seems like it's bounced back from that. This thing grows really fast, dude. If you're not careful with this species, it can completely overrun a tank, as it's starting to do right now at the bottom. So yeah, time for another trim. Got from Mosaic Macros, I have this sprinkled all throughout the tank. It's doing okay. It's, I think, I forgot what it's called. It's like some unknown species. I don't know if it's a Gracilaria or what it is, but it's doing all right. About covers it. There's some Florifera, you know, just sprinkled all around this section. This is my favorite view to look at the tank. This section is rather pretty as well. I like the other one too. I'll give you a very short little update on this tank. I'm not really gonna say anything in depth, but I'll show you some things. So